Perfect. So, emotional intelligence allows us to resolve conflict with empathy, enhance the effectiveness of performance reviews, understand and boost employee engagement, and effectively manage change. We also use emotional intelligence to adapt to hybrid and remote work models, manage culture across multiple work sites, and enhance collaboration and communication. So, what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence, or EQ, is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions. It also includes recognizing and influencing the emotions of others. Dr. Daniel Goleman's model of emotional intelligence includes five key components. The first three components focus on oneself: self awareness, self regulation, and motivation. The last two components focus on how we relate to others through empathy and social skills. It is posited that EQ may hold more weight in effective decision making and stress management than IQ. Emotional intelligence helps us manage emotions, strengthen relationships, and improve decision making under pressure. EQ also supports stress management, leading to better performance in high pressure roles. Empathy, a key aspect of emotional intelligence, is essential in customer facing roles to build trust and rapport. Emotional intelligence enables us to adapt to clients' needs and market changes, build stronger relationships by addressing emotional needs, and foster trust through enhancing client retention and long term success. So let's explore how emotional intelligence helps us in conflict resolution. EQ enhances workplace communication by providing clarity and understanding in conversation. This helps to reduce misunderstanding and conflicts. It also helps us develop the empathy needed to resolve conflicts as they arise by understanding the other party's concerns. Trust is further fostered through respectful and honest interactions. Respect and empathy in the workplace enhance collaboration by strengthening communication and understanding amongst team members. Empathy allows diverse perspectives to be valued, leading to better problem solving and decision making. Together, respect and empathy build a culture of trust and engagement that supports long term organizational success. The EQI 2.0 model frames conflict as an opportunity for growth by combining self awareness, self expression, and empathy. Using this model, we can identify steps to resolve conflicts with emotional intelligence. So, first, pausing to breathe before reacting helps regulate emotions and prevent escalation. Next, active listening and validating others' feelings builds trust and understanding. Third, identifying shared goals shifts the focus towards collaboration and long term solutions. By applying these three steps, conflicts can be resolved constructively, strengthening relationships and fostering a more resilient workplace. Benefits of implementing these steps in conflict resolution include strong internal relationships and improved client handling. Now, let's examine how reviews can be enhanced by emotional intelligence. So, feedback matters because it creates psychological safety, where employees feel respected and open to sharing ideas without fear of judgment. In a safe environment, feedback becomes a tool for growth, helping individuals learn from mistakes and build new skills. When delivered through effective communication, clear, constructive, and empathetic feedback strengthens trust, supports development, and drives both individual and organizational success. Effective performance reviews grounded in emotional intelligence emphasize respect, trust, and growth. Starting with strengths helps employees feel valued, setting a positive tone that motivates engagement. Using empathetic language ensures feedback is constructive, validating the employee's perspective while fostering psychological safety. Collaborative goal forming invites employees into the process, building ownership and aligning goals with both individual aspirations and team objectives. Together, these emotional intelligence driven techniques transform reviews from evaluations into meaningful conversations that inspire development and strengthen relationships. Technology can enhance emotional intelligence by providing tools that help leaders communicate with greater impact. AI tools can generate meaningful messages that make praise more impactful. So, ChatGPT, for example, this can be used to enhance generic messages by using a prompt such as, please enhance this statement with EQ, followed by the statement. At the same time, it's essential to balance technology with humanity, ensuring that digital tools support rather than replace genuine emotional connection. When used thoughtfully, technology amplifies emotional intelligence by reinforcing authentic recognition and strengthening relationships in the workplace. Now, emotional intelligence in the workplace drives stronger performance and retention by making employees more open to feedback and fostering loyalty. Positive, empathetic interactions boost morale and job satisfaction, while trust and effective communication strengthen manager and employee relationships, leading to greater collaboration and long term success. But what questions do we have?
Yeah, at this stage, no questions have come in. I'd remind the audience that we do have a Q&A box for anything that may become any questions or thoughts you may have on the whole thing. So.
Hey, wonderful. So I'll turn it over to David for the second half of the webinar.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Okay, so my portion, we're going to be covering a few other interesting side bits of all this. Boosting engagement through EQ, because this is important. We're looking to have people's engagement and things moving forward. Just one moment here while I just realized my video is off. There we are. I'm not invisible anymore. So again, as Liz was saying, empathy is what's driving engagement. It's really important to empathize, not necessarily sympathize, but empathize with people and the situations. You know, we're all human beings. Using EQ is a great way to build trust among teams and to make sure that there's a good sense of camaraderie. Our goal here overall certainly is enhanced productivity. By making sure that you're dialed into the emotional conditions of your teams and your colleagues, you can help enhance the productivity, realize that someone's flagging, someone's maybe not having a great day, someone else is having a great day, and you want to be able to capitalize on that to maximize your efficiencies and productivities and your outcomes. So what are some practical methods of doing all of this? Feedback loops is really important. So many people just engage in the annual performance review, which is a ritual that in all my years of HR management, I've seen very, very few people say they actually are looking forward to the annual performance review ritual. It's much better to give feedback, praise in public, criticize in private when it happens. And that way people aren't having a question or the uncertainty. Engage in empathy building exercises. This works with remote teams really well. It also works with in-person teams. Now, I'm not talking about necessarily the traditional, trust fall sort of workshops that have been seen and candidly parodied for many a time. But ways of making sure that we are responding and relating to one another as human beings. Everyone has their own challenges, their own strengths, and this is things that we need to recognize. Speaking of recognition, recognizing jobs well done in public, if you have like an all-staff meeting, make sure that you're calling out people who've gone above and beyond. As always, praise in public, criticize in private. And doing these sort of things can help to build morale. Now, important to make sure that the person you're praising publicly is okay with that, because some people, they just want to hide under a rock. That just is certain personality types. And hey, that's okay, but make sure that you're not inadvertently and with the best of intentions making someone squirm. Because that can happen. We've all seen those sort of experiences. But recognizing team contributions, individual contributions is a big thing. So realizing that we have a number of insurance brokers on the call here. The next couple of slides are talking for business owners and brokers. What are some things that can be done? Role playing is a really good thing to do, and you can carve out 15 minutes or carve out a lunch, whatever, and go through some role playing to go through, simulated client broker interactions. Identify how a prospect may or may not react and enhance the ability to push through a sale, to close a deal, be able to answer and address any concerns or objections. We know that with the recent federal legislation, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, there's been an awful lot of activity that involves the insurance industry, involves business owners. So these are things you want to talk through and see when you are presenting to your clients, and what are the changes that are coming in January that may affect their premiums, may affect their plan structure. The direct care provider clause, for example, is something to be looking at. So these are things to role play within the office first. Journaling is another big thing. I will admit I have journaled for decades. Still do. I have a regular calendar of things. I just think about things. I have a regular weekly calendar, and my colleagues here at HR Service will candidly admit that I tend to be a bit OCD about using Excel sheets, and hey, that works. It works for me. The journaling, I have something that I look up, or I make a record of, physical accomplishments, financial, family things, private hobby things that have gone on during the week. And then when something larger occurs, I will journal and write about that. So this is not something it's not something to share in public. My wife doesn't even get to read these, but they are important to have and to know about it. They can be, very effective. You're pretty much talking to yourself, and I think many of us have heard the old story about Abraham Lincoln's recommendation to someone to, when you're mad at someone, write them a letter calling them all sorts of names, get it out of your system, and then burn it. It really does work from direct experience. More times than I care to admit, but it does work. So what are the wins from doing these sort of things and from focusing on emotional intelligence? Increasing employee motivation, increasing their willingness to push forward, to go the extra mile. It certainly helps with loyalty to a firm. We all understand the high cost of turnover, the high cost of quiet quitting, of all these things, that if people are feeling that they are listened to, that they are cared for and respected and treated as fellow humans. You go that the opposite. There are some places where I think some of you may remember an old Dilbert cartoon from a long time ago, where the Catbert, the evil HR director, greets an employee who's coming in and says, "Hello, head count." That's where the employees are not valued whatsoever. And that's not really a thriving environment in any way, shape, or form. This is something where you really need to be aware of people's situations, recognize them, and encourage them to recognize others, recognize their peers. This is not strictly a top-down thing. This also goes in with clients, client service. Your clients are all humans also. So this is something to be recognizing the advantages of this, and more than just the obligatory form letter Christmas card that goes out, dear client, thank you for a wonderful year. We all get these. We all know what that's all about. Yeah, it's good to do, but recognizing birthdays, recognizing other things, treating them as, acknowledging the humanity involved. That's certainly all important things for owners, brokers. We all win from this. Okay, managing change. Why EQ is critical. I don't know if Liz touched on this, but it's an interesting situation that we're talking about emotional intelligence, but it's called EQ, which is emotional quotient tied in with IQ for intelligence quotient. But the idea here is that they're both equally important. The intelligence quotient is measures obviously the intellect, the problem solving, that sort of stuff, and the EQ is measuring how well we relate to our colleagues, our coworkers, our clients, our boards of directors. During a change situation, it's a truism that the only person that really likes change is a baby with a wet diaper. We all agree to this. But change also is inevitable. It occurs constantly. Um, Sidebar, I'm a big Downton Abbey fan. We went to go see the Downton Abbey movie finale. And without going into any real plot reveals, it's definitely a time of uh, transition and moving on and retirement and passing the reins and change. And I think the movie handles it quite well, talking about change, because it happens. Societies change, cultures change, families change, people change, businesses change. The whole thing occurs. People are going to resist change. People are going to be fearful. That's kind of a normal human reaction. Um, by focusing on the EQ aspect, you're going to build some resilience. And again, success, the whole thing here of succeed, of grow. You can't sit here and fight the change. It is going to happen, like it or not. How do you manage it? How do you get through it? And a big part of this is recognizing the humanity in yourself, the humanity in your clients, in your coworkers, again, in your board of directors. And I know for some people, the idea that a board of directors is the idea that board of directors is human. Yeah, they are. They are. Sometimes they forget, but they are. And by the way, I say that as chairman of the board of the local nonprofit music society here. So I look at it from that self-centered standpoint. Communication and emotional support. Recognize what's causing resistance. The biggest thing in a workplace is almost always, am I going to have a job next week? Am I going to have a job next year from this? How is this change going to directly affect me, my family, my pocketbook? And this is where the communication is necessary. Make sure that you're supporting people in a transitional period. I don't really like to get into current events, but we all know that there was a horrific incident last year or last week. I'll get that word out, last week. And some employers set up counseling services for people who are having trouble dealing with that incident. And that can be good because it's been very traumatic for a lot of folks and triggered a lot of emotions up and down, right and left. Enough on that one. So again, the idea and the impact on all this stuff, providing smoother transitions, reducing your turnover. That's a big thing. Cost of turnover is just so high. You want to get a winning team in place and keep them there. And the team needs to be flexible. They need to be able to adapt to the change because, as I said, the change is absolutely inevitable. Going to talk a little bit about hybrid and remote teams. If we were doing this in person, this is where I'd ask for a show of hands of how many people are working remotely and how many people are on site and how many are in a hybrid. In fact, this guy on the screen is raising his hand for me. That worked well and not intentional. It's more difficult in a remote situation because you're only seeing one another, for maybe a daily team meeting, or maybe even a couple time, morning stand up or a noon call or end of the day check-in. And people are on their best behavior. An advantage of in office is that you're seeing people all the time. You're seeing their moods, you're seeing what's going on. That is also a disadvantage at times. It just depends on the situation and the culture. Um, and everyone's culture is going to be a little bit different. Uh, Maintaining culture long distance can be more challenging, is more challenging. One of the clients that I had worked for here for about a 3-year period, they had employees spread out across 37 states and all 4 major time zones. And that got to be a real challenge in making sure that times were available, things worked, and what was going on. You have a snowstorm back east, and you have a heat wave in California, and the ways that these things affected people. So it's a matter of being sensitive to it all. Some ideas for remote workers. Okay, regular check-ins. The remote or hybrid teams that seem to work the best are the ones that have regular, daily or at least 3 times a week check-ins, 2 times a week at a bare minimum. I know there are some groups that don't seem to check in at all, and those are the ones where people feel very disengaged and not part of a team. They feel like they're all a bunch of individuals. For some business situations, that may work, particularly if you get a bunch of introverts who really just don't like to talk to others. By and large, humans are social people, though, and they like to be able to interact. They like to find out what's going on. Um, you know, and don't be afraid to open up in a smaller departmental team setting. We really are working together. Share your personal successes, share your personal events. Um, you don't need to go into gory details, but you can just mention, hey, this is something that's going on in my life or my family's life. My kid graduated from high school, or my grandson got a driver's license, or my wife got a promotion, my spouse got a promotion. I shouldn't genderize it. Um, Things like this. Empathy rituals, that may be a little more formal, but it is a recommendation that comes out where you're doing it in kind of a strategic, planned out way. And there are tech tools. There's one called Better Up, and that's a tool you can look online, and there's about 18 dozen others of them that you can look up to give ideas for how to do this. Remote work, hybrid work is pretty much here to stay for many, many industries. Okay, again, driving it home for brokers and business owners, we're talking kind of the same thing we mentioned earlier. The ongoing engagement, reducing the isolation. As I said, some people like to be isolated, but you really need to draw them in to the team activity and keeps the team going together, with the idea here of the overall benefit to the business, to the clients. So we're delivering better products for all. Okay. How do we maintain culture and collaborate? Okay. Cultural dilution is a big thing when you're in a remote situation. Again, going back to this example of the 37 different states. You can just think of examples, and I don't need to go through a whole list, weather situations, climate situations, political situations, depending on a red or blue state's location, different backgrounds, different areas. We all know that different parts of the nation have different cultural standards and such. Now, if you have a remote team that's all based in one state or one county or even one city, it's a little easier to deal with this. What we're talking about here is, again, communications, doing some virtual team building. I'll learn how to read one of these days, I promise. Cross-location mentoring, storytelling, and sharing. And again, this whole thing, the payoff of this is that the team unites, the team supports each other, they get along really well. And that's just so important for the overall success. The EQ impact on virtual teams. Again, I think we probably covered this already. It is that this is just a good one-slide summary. By the way, you will get copies of the slides. Will get sent out to you along with a link to the recording. And You'll be getting that either this afternoon or more likely tomorrow morning. But talking about the advantages of EQ, we've just pounded on that for the last half hour. I won't redo it, but active listening, check-ins, tone awareness, being mindful, journaling for oneself. And this all improves the team, improves the profitability, the productivity. So summing up here on this, couple slides of summary. EQ enhances conflict resolution, employee reviews, engagement, by doing some sort of a metrics, that will help as well. Hey, Liz, can you mute your mic, please? We got some background noise. Various action steps we talked about. Empower your leaders, foster the team to be engaged, and all of this is going to help in general with the workplace culture. Okay, I've been babbling for enough. Did any questions pop up here, Liz?
We did have a pretty good question come in. How can an employer use these practices in interviews to make sure they're finding candidates that will add to culture and promote positivity?
Well, a big part of that would be to be candid up front about the culture and make sure people really understand what they're getting into so they don't get a sense that they're being sold a bill of goods. And again, going on my own experience, I can think of at least one place, this is from a couple of decades ago, so not current events, where the place was really kind of a toxic environment, and I'm being charitable. They had very high turnover, but they wouldn't acknowledge that, so they always told people coming in, hey, this is great, this is wonderful. And people would get in there and realize usually within 6 weeks, if not 6 days, if not 6 hours sometimes, that they've made a horrible, horrible mistake. But if you have a very positive culture, celebrate, share the things that you celebrate, be open upfront about that. Also, and we don't really have time to go into it now, but pop into Google and put it, or ChatGPT, put in a prompt for what are some interview questions for, fill in with your kind of business, architectural design, drafting, medical services, eyewear, whatever. What are some interview questions that would help in assessing the emotional intelligence of a job candidate? You want to tailor it to your industry and pick and choose. Again, with the AI technology available to us now, which is really pretty wonderful, we can get these things and narrow it down. If you understand how to use the ChatGPT or the Copilot prompts, you can say, I'm an employer in Utah, or I'm a dental office in Utah. What are some interview questions I can ask candidates for a front desk receptionist to determine their emotional intelligence suitability for this type of job? See what pops up.
And we did have a participant chime in as well that they do issue an EQ test before the interview and they review it during the interview process. But definitely paying attention to the applicant's responses and determining if they're showing empathy and self-reflection and self-growth in those questions is definitely a key way.
Yeah. That's fine. One other aspect of that is, while doing a written test is certainly valuable and it absolutely standardizes it, when you're dealing with emotion stuff, the give and take often provides more information than a straight multiple choice answer thing. It's good information there, but you're not dealing with that's sort of an IQ approach to an EQ question. And I think you need to make sure you're covering both bases so that you want it to be a good fit for the business as well as a good fit for the person, because hey, you don't want to bring someone on who's going to be hating life, and it just is not going to be a good mesh. And we've all, probably many of us have seen that sort of a situation. We want to avoid that because that just slows things down. Okay, anything else?
Nope, that was it.
All right, good. Well, as we head into the wrap up here, quick review here of the many things that HR Service offers. We're pretty much a one-stop shop for all of your human resources needs. And I'm not going to read this whole slide to you because it's lots and lots of words, but we do the whole thing with HR. We have the what we call now fractional HR. We have our e-solutions program, which provides training modules. We do compliance, handbooks, forms, a legal library. You can get one of us here to do work on projects for you, comp analysis, compliance audit, help with recruitment, anything human resource related. We are based in Salt Lake City, Utah, but we cover nationally. We have clients in honestly all 50 states. We have here our HR assessment, and Liz, I'm going to pass the baton over to you to speak of this because this is kind of your baby.
Sure. Thank you, David. The HR assessment is a new tool that we have come out with that it provides an overview of both compliance and best practices in the HR industry. It's a great tool to kind of help see where you are and to kind of gauge what you don't know. That's always a big thing that comes up, is that new smaller businesses don't know what they don't know when it comes to HR. So this is a great way to get your footing and find out where that is. So we definitely support and encourage the use of the HR assessment. Oh, and David, you're on mute. Any
Yep.
additional questions?
Any additional? Okay, Meha, I'm going to pass it back over to you to take us home.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Liz and David, and thank you everybody for joining us today. I hope you truly found this session very valuable. We will be, as David mentioned, we'll be sending out the recording of this webinar along with a stack of slides for you. So keep an eye on your inbox. You'll see it probably by today or tomorrow. In the meantime, if you have any questions, you can reach out to our team. We'll be very happy to hear from you. And we look forward to seeing you guys again for our next webinar. Thank you.
Thank y'all.